Hey guys, I'm Matthew Kaner here in Malibu Canyon today to take you through on this episode of Tasting Notes the differences between Riesling and Albariño. Often confused, they trip me up in blind tastings. So what we're gonna do today is break down the differences, taste them side by side, and figure out how to help make that decision, how to get you to the right wine when you have one of these in your glass. So starting with the 2016 Weißer Künstler Estate Riesling. This is from the Mosel region. And then for the Albariño, we've got the Alma de Mar. This is from Rías Baixas, Spain and Galicia. So one of the reasons that Riesling and Albariño are often confused for each other is there was a long time when we believed they were from the same mother DNA. So I happened to be in Vinho Verde in Portugal, and that's Vinho Verde, not Vinho Verde. It's not in Spanish, it's in Portuguese. And I happened to be there in 2014 when they got the ultimate answer that the DNA between the two grape varieties were separate. There was no commonality. And so Albariño, as they call it in Portugal, or Albariño, as they call it in Spain, is not related actually to Riesling. Now, Albariño often will have notes of petrol, seaside salinity, things like that that we'll also find in a lot of Rieslings that are grown near to, whether it be the Mosel River or the Rhine River. Sometimes in Australia, you'll get that amazing petrol quality. So there's a lot of reasons why we would be tripped up and have confusion between the two. So first I'm gonna pour the Albariño. The grape itself tends to be a little bit more dry. They tend to make it with less residual sugar. Riesling can have, anywhere from a bone-dry nature of no residual sugar up to, depending on the harvest time, 100, 200 grams per liter, so it can be confusing. Though the one we have today is a very kind of traditional Halbtrocken style. It's got about 5 to 7 grams per liter and the acid to boot. So we're gonna jump right into this Albariño. So on the nose, you get sea spray, salinity, very limey, lime rind, lots of fresh bouquet of lime, almost like if you were to make a really amazing gin martini, proper martinis with gin, and take the lime rind and do a little kind of action to get the oils going. You really get that explosive lime quality here. It's very aromatic, it's very pretty, it's very saline. Now, the Riesling will often, especially freshly opened from Stelvin enclosure, a screw cap, because of the design of the Stelvin is actually to keep the grapes really fresh and the wine really fresh inside the bottle. So a lot of times there'll be this kind of reductive quality that'll come out and the wine will just have to expel a little oxygen to breathe. So you get this kind of little poof of petrol. Something I love is when I would fill my gas tank, I would always accidentally spill some gas on my fingers and smell it. It's just something I love. I love the way weird shit smells. So yeah, not missing that on this wine. There's a big, beautiful waft of that petrol, gasoline, filling your gas tank on the wrong side of the road in the UK. So unlike the Albariño, which is showing lime rind, this one's showing much more of like a lemon curd, lemon meringue, almost an orange blossom. So right there, we see a big difference in the citrus that's being shown. And I'm not getting the same salinity. So for me, just on the nose alone, a big differentiation would be that salinity, sea spray, kind of if you ever stand at the ocean, not going in the water, not being on the sand, but just close to the ocean, even within, less than a mile, you get this kind of waft of sea air, sea spray. You really are gonna find that in a properly made Albariño, especially from Galicia. All right, let's taste them. Let's see what we got on the palates. There's a freshness to this wine. There is a really amazing kind of garrigue, fennel, herbal quality, when also as it follows down my esophagus, I get like an apple fruit. So on the nose, very pronounced lime, but on the palate, much more apple. Green apple, tart, fresh, probably cold out of the refrigerator rather than was on the vine too long and started to get a little fermenty. It's got acidity, but it's not acidic. It's not sharp. It's got a kiss of acid. An Albariño will either be very balanced and have that kiss of acidity. Sometimes you'll see it to go to the medium plus to high acid. Let's taste the Riesling. Let's see how the acid shows up there. That's often a big pronunciation of difference between the two for me is the acid of Riesling. So the palate's got more weight to it. the fruit is more opulent. I know it has more residual sugar, but the sugar is not showing itself. So that to me shows that there's more acid in the wine, balancing out that sweetness. And it can be tricky because Rieslings can have less body. They can be more crystalline and more precise. This one's got a little bit more weight to it, but it's also got this opulence of fruit, where on the Albariño, very pronounced apple, a little bit of the herb quality. This wine is like peach skin, peach flesh. You know, it's like a hot summer day, you want peach tea. So if I were to get either of these wines in a blind tasting, let's focus on the Albariño for a moment. So on the nose and also on the palate, that salinity, that sea spray, that's somewhere that's gonna take me away from a lot of different varieties. I wouldn't necessarily get that in a Riesling. So if I'm gonna be able to kind of cross something off the list, that salinity that I'm getting in what I know to be the Albariño, that's something that's gonna take me to a very different path than Riesling, so I'll be able to at least cross that off. At that point, I'd be looking at locations that are near to the ocean, vineyard sites that are within, let's say, a mile of the ocean, maybe a couple miles of the ocean. In some cases, maybe even really close to a river or another body of water, maybe a lake. Now, if I was to blind the Riesling and try to cross other things off the list, the nose, the opulence, the kind of floral quality, the way that the fruit is pronounced on the nose would take me away from other varieties. Also, the fact that it's more like a peachy tropical nose, a more floral nose, would actually, for me, be able to cross Albariño off the list. I don't tend to see that in Albariño. But that hint of petrol, when you get the hint of petrol, you can't help but think Riesling. And there are other wines that develop it over time as they age. But for me, Riesling gets that petrol nose, you know, the sweet tart quality on the palate, not necessarily the sugar go down Mary Poppins sweetness thing, but definitely like a flavor of sweet tart candy, which I loved as a kid. Yeah, so for me, that's how I would be able to say this was not Albariño. And I get that they're easy to confuse, especially in a blind tasting. You know, we oftentimes have to make a call quickly, and if we have limited knowledge or even if we have an entire expansive knowledge of wine, sometimes it's hard to narrow it down. But so in Albariño, be looking for that salinity, and in the Riesling, either be looking for an opulence on the nose or the petrol quality. That will help you decide whether to go in the Riesling lane or the Albariño lane.